Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos and articles on the golden era of bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I'd like to introduce a truly significant figure in silver era bodybuilding history, and that is Monty Wolford. If you have not heard of this legendary bodybuilder, I don't blame you, as he unfortunately only competed briefly and stopped after a promising start. What makes this bodybuilding figure so infamous in the annals of bodybuilding history, well, he was actually the creator of the Monty Wolford squat, otherwise known as the Sissy Squat, popularized later on by the infamous Iron Guru, Vince Gironda. Vince learnt the Sissy Squat from Monty Wolford and later called it the Sissy Squat because, in his own opinion, it would make sissies out of squatters and weightlifters. That's typical Vince for you. But today I'd like to pay tribute to a bodybuilder that has been lost in time and forgotten. Truly possessing an aesthetic physique, clearly shown in this photo, it is no wonder Gironda took note, shut up and listened for once. We can see the mentor and protege on the cover of Muscle Power 1951 May, with Monty looking absolutely awesome. Look at the V-taper, the phenomenal wide lats, the high square chest, the defined thighs, it's all there. Monty truly was an inspiration, a figure to look up to for Vince Gironda, and we are going to learn more about this legendary bodybuilder today. Now, Monty Wolford is pictured here. Here is a perfect example, almost a silhouette of his amazing physique. Now, he doesn't believe that he was actually blessed with genetics. I actually think he was. He had a wonderful structure. But what he means by that is that he wasn't necessarily blessed with a thick and powerful skeletal structure, and I would agree. Monty learnt, though, that building a solid foundation early on was key to the success in bodybuilding. He devoted a large portion of his earlier routines to leg and lower back training, resulting in an increase in his fundamental power, allowing him to perform full body training later on. He actually had a displaced vertebra as a youth and began specializing in various forms of deadlifting, which eventually cured his problem. I'm assuming these were light deadlifts to basically exercise his spinal erector and realign his spine. So obviously the transformation is extremely obvious, because later on he then of course took on full body training routines, and his routine mainly consisted early on in his career, mind you, before the Sissy Squat, mainly of breathing squats, of course, to bulk up his physique. As I've explained several videos many times before, this allowed him to build a concrete foundation. And as he says, you are only as strong as your legs and back. Absolutely right. So bigger squats later, of course, translated to a stronger heart, lungs, and internal system, which is something most people don't realize. When you're building your body, not just building your musculature, you're building your bones, your joints, and your internal system as well. You're conditioning it. And as he puts it, you can't be strong externally unless you are strong internally. So by building up his internal system, of course, this allowed the external muscular system to bloom. And I mean, didn't it bloom? Look at that phenomenal physique, a high chest, beautiful sweeping lats, and defined thighs. It's just beautiful. And the diamond-shaped calves as well. Beautiful forearms, arms, it's all there. Beautiful aesthetic development that Monty Wolford possessed. To grow further, especially his upper body, he would actually perform barbell and dumbbell presses both on the incline bench and on the flat bench, dumbbell flies and lat pull downs, basically doing 4 sets of each, and only using up to 10 repetitions, except for flies where he would actually use 20 repetitions. Or again, so 4 sets of 10 reps for benching and for lat pull downs, and for flies he would actually use 20 reps, again for the added rib cage expansion that you get from flies. Now, for overall body growth, of course he would use the breathing squat, as I mentioned earlier, and he would actually superset the deep squats, performing 6 sets of deep squats with leg curls. And then he would perform 9 sets of calf work. Truly an excruciating workout. Just try it yourself. Almost, yeah, almost 40 sets in this workout. Yeah, basically half devoted to leg workout and the other half to upper body. He actually doesn't list any arm or shoulder exercises, and I can imagine, because when you're bulking up, I guess lat pull downs and basic bench pressing and squatting is all you really need. It makes a lot of sense. So that was his very early routine for bulking up. So just to quickly go through his measurements and transformation, you can clearly see that he was, from the list provided in the article that I read recently on Monty Wolford, you can see that his before measurements for his neck, upper arms, calves especially, these extremities really show how weak and thin he was. Although his arms being now 16 inches, grown from 12 inches, is not phenomenal, he developed a rather beautiful and aesthetic physique, as I already mentioned. His chest definitely grew, of course, doing the basics, breathing squats and lat pull downs, benching. That's all going to obviously doing it heavy with heavy breathing is going to expand your rib cage and also add a lot of quality musculature on the upper torso. He dropped 2 inches in his waist and gained 5.5 inches on his thighs, gaining 50 pounds at only a height of 5 foot inches. That's a lot of quality muscle. I mean, look at his calves as well. They grew massively. Beautiful diamond shaped calves at 16 inches. It's really a phenomenal transformation of Monty Wolford. Now, as mentioned earlier in the beginning of this video, I did state that Monty had a brief and successful competitive career, only spanning a few years. Although he reached first place in many AAU competitions, including the 1949 Mr. Southwest, and also later on the Mr. Los Angeles, also an AAU event, and the Mr. Venice Beach, also coming first. After that, he actually started placing lower, and yeah, I think his latest competition was in the 1970s in the Ironman Masters competition, or around then. But his competition wasn't necessarily too long, but that's not necessarily what he's mainly remembered for. Now, as mentioned earlier in this video, the main reason why most people remember Monty Wolford is because he developed the Monty Wolford squat, otherwise known as the Sissy Squat, which was termed that way against by Vince Gironda after stating that this exercise would make sissies out of these heavy lifters who thought that the squat was the be-all and end-all of strength. Vince Gironda, that's why he actually called the Monty Wolford squat the Sissy Squat. He didn't necessarily try to replace the name. He just, the name stuck after he basically said that he spoke his mind, saying that the Sissy Squat would make sissies out of squatters. Now, if you want a true picture of the effectiveness of the Sissy Squat, here's a great shot of Monty Wolford. You can really see how defined, especially his upper thighs were. And this is something that Vince Gironda constantly stated, that the Sissy Squat was excellent for really having deeper cuts into your thighs. It would really change the appearance of the thigh from being bulky to having these wonderful deep ridges, and the muscles just basically be very well defined and bursting out through the skin, which was not necessarily seen much in the Silver era, the defined thighs. Of course, Silver era bodybuilders had wonderful upper body structures and also great lower calf development, but the thigh was generally overlooked, and it really started with the Sissy Squat having these defined thighs. I mean, even Vince Gironda, the pupil of Monty Wolford, I remember he was when he competed for the Mr. Universe, he didn't place as high as he should have, and he was truly robbed because the judges basically told him he was too defined. And having a defined physique back in the Silver era was not necessarily back then the opinion was that it wasn't necessarily the ideal physique. The bulkier physique was more ideal, and having all that definition truly was a thought of the future. So again, Vince Gironda, men like Vince Gironda and Monty Wolford, well ahead of their time. Well ahead of the time. Look at that definition again on Monty Wolford's thighs. Compare it to Vince Gironda, who is probably still learning at that time from Monty Wolford. Amazing definition in those thighs, thanks to the Sissy Squat or the Monty Wolford squat. Now, the Sissy Squat as performed nowadays in gyms is completely wrong. The original Monty Wolford or Sissy Squat actually had 3 different phases, hence it was called the 3-way or the 3-phase Sissy Squat, which with each phase being a separate exercise in itself. The first phase is called the knee drop, where basically standing your heels on a board and having the weight up on your shoulders like you would in the beginning of a front squat, you would drop your knees down, only bending at the knees, keeping the upper body straight, and then come back up to the beginning posture. The second phase, you would actually do that first phase exercise for several reps. The second phase is called the burlesque bump, where you actually squat all the way down, as you can see in the phase 2 diagram, and then just thrust your hips up, hence called the burlesque bump. And then you come back down to the squat. This really burns the thighs. The final phase or exercise is the full flush, or the flush out as Vince Gironda called it. You basically perform the whole series of exercises put together. So you start off again upright, you do a knee drop, you drop down to the squat, do a burlesque bump hip thrust, and then extend the knees to come straight up again. And that's the full flush out. Again, you perform that for reps. So each phase is supposed to be performed for repetitions, and that actually constitutes a full set. That's one set. It is a killer of an exercise. So as mentioned at the beginning of this video and to end, here is Vince Gironda, a photo actually of him performing the flush out. It's available online. And as he puts it in his booklet, which is now available on my website, the Sissy Squat, this exercise is thoroughly misunderstood. Parts of this exercise have been popularized and labeled Sissy Squats, and that's exactly what I mean. It's actually a 3-phase squat, three phases, 3 different exercises make the whole exercise. And as he puts it, just to once again pay tribute to the wonderful Monty Wolford, this exercise was taught to me by its inventor, the great Monty Wolford, whose leg development is unparalleled. I have personally measured his thighs and found his upper thigh and his middle thigh to be the same measurement. He is the only man I know of who possesses this measurement. And Vince Gironda, just like I do, pay great tribute to the great Monty Wolford, truly a man ahead of his time who actually taught Vince Gironda. Again, if you wish to purchase this booklet, it's available now on my website, and you'll be able to get the link in the next slide. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video on Monty Wolford, the great Monty Wolford, mentor of the great iron guru Vince Gironda. If you've enjoyed watching this video, learning about Monty and the Sissy Squat, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't to the Golden Era Bookworm. Thank you for watching, and leave me your comments. Once again, if you wish to purchase this booklet, the Sissy Squat, it's available on my website, www.goldenerabookworm.com, or you can donate via PayPal if you like my content, or become a patron, www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. Once again, hope you've enjoyed this video. Bye for now. Get your copy of the Sissy Squat by Vince Gironda on www.goldenerabookworm.com, where you can also get awesome courses from Steve Reeves, Reg Park, the York hand balancing course, as well as other courses from the bronze, silver and golden era of bodybuilding.